Welcome back to XRAY in the Morning. I'm Kira Lindenberg.
I'm Hannah Rose now. Some more national news.
Looks
like ICE raids are expected to start on Sunday. The New York Times is reporting the target of these raids will be at least 2,000 undocumented immigrants with current removal orders. But other immigrants could be caught up in the raids and detained even if they do not have current removal orders. The Times is reporting on information gained from one former and two current Homeland Security officials. This new effort comes weeks after President Donald Trump had tweeted ICE's plan to conduct raids, but then delayed the operation. The raids also come during a tense time at the White House, as Labor Secretary Alex Acosta has just announced he will resign, and amid concerns about upcoming testimony of former special counsel Robert Mueller. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said evangelicals should step up and urge the president to call off the raids. Quote, "This brutal action will terrorize children and tear families apart." She said, ICE agents are also not allowed to force their way into any property, meaning migrants who don't answer the door cannot be forcibly removed, or should not be.
There's so much to say. You were laughing when you started reading this story. Is that because
the music was still playing?
Oh.
I was like, I feel weird reading this while we're like,
my lips are sealed. Yeah. There's so much to say about this story. I'm not sure if I even want to get into it. Okay, first of all, the last time Trump Twitter announced these ICE raids, they didn't happen. That being said, I think that these ones probably will. This is a really important point that ICE agents are not allowed to force their way onto the property. Does that mean that's going to happen? I think we're going to have to be so vigilant. I mean, forgive me for not having faith in our federal government, but I just feel like they're probably not going to follow that rule, but it's a good one to know. So if you don't open your door, they're not allowed in, right? Just like vampires and people trying to serve you papers.
Right.
It's an interesting point that Nancy Pelosi she's looking to evangelicals
I don't know.
To call this off.
I don't know why or where that came from, but
yeah,
sure.
that's a really
call on them.
Interesting group to solicit help from. I would really be interested in her rationale there, and I hope that they do it. Man, sometimes at 7:30 in the morning, stories like this are so difficult to read and like also regulate my emotions. So I think let's come back to this story because I have more to say about it, but I kind of can't handle it at the moment.
Okay.
All right. The White House is ditching a plan to lower drug prices, but it might go after drug makers. On Thursday, the Trump administration threw out a plan to lower drug prices by targeting health insurance companies, to the surprise of no one. The plan would have required health insurers to pass billions of dollars in rebates that they receive from drug makers to Medicare patients. Let's just sit on that sentence for a moment.
I know.
Insurance companies get billions of dollars in rebates from people who make drugs.
For Medicare patients.
Right. And then the rebates go to the insurance companies and not the patients. Lowering drug prices was a key promise Trump made in the campaign trail. So the announcement represents a setback ahead of 2020. Did you know that Trump sometimes doesn't live up to his promises?
Oh, wow. You're...
Breaking news!
Get him.
Get him. That was your plan, huh? Get him. It allows health insurance companies to continue to keep drug maker rebates made on behalf of the government's Medicare program. The administration is now considering a rule that allows the government to negotiate directly with drug companies to set prices. In more good news,
the House
system breakdown.
Yeah. The House Judiciary Committee handed out subpoenas to Kushner and a bunch of other Trump officials on Thursday. Yesterday, the Judiciary authorized subpoenas for 12 people mentioned in Mueller's report. The panel is investigating whether Trump obstructed justice after Mueller's report detailed several episodes in which Trump tried to influence his investigation. Subpoenas sent out include some to Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, and former Attorney General Jeff Sessions. Subpoenas were authorized for former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn, former Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein. Also included are Trump's former campaign manager Corey Lewandowski, Jody Hunt, Sessions' former chief of staff, and former White House aides Rob Porter and Rick Durbin. There are other names associated with the National Enquirer's efforts to help suppress potentially embarrassing stories about Trump. The panel also voted to authorize subpoenas for documents and testimony related to Trump's handling of immigration, including family separation. As we can remember, Mueller is scheduled to testify to Congress next week, both before the Judiciary and Intelligence panels for about 2 hours each. Upon learning about these subpoenas, Trump tweeted, quote, "Enough already. Go back to work."
So this is a really interesting week, right? If you take it all in the big picture. So subpoenas are finally being handed out to people in the Trump administration, which means that some sort of legal action is finally coming of the Mueller report, which is what we have all been waiting for a really long time. And
he just had to literally say, it is now up to you to do your job.
Who?
Mueller.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. And so but that's what, another curious thing is if people will start actually respecting these subpoenas. So there's that whole part.
What a world we live in. But so it's interesting, right? Interesting is one word for it, but in the same week, we have these subpoenas being handed out. So some action is finally coming of the Mueller report. We have the White House admitting that they are not going to be able to live up to one of their huge promises in 2016, which was that they were going to help lower drug prices because they can't actually negotiate with insurance companies. And so what are they doing instead? ICE raids, right? Let's take this all in context.
Yeah.
Announcing on Twitter that they're going to start ICE raids.
And in pop news, do you know who Karlie Kloss is?
No.
Well, she's a supermodel and she's married to Jared Kushner's brother.
Oh, I was like, is Jared Kushner married to two people? What are you talking about? Wait, what about her?
She's married to Jared Kushner's brother, Joshua, and she's best friends with Taylor Swift. Sorry,
You're just letting me know. You're just letting me know that that's a thing that's happening.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I was waiting for the big reveal, but the big reveal is just that it's all interconnected. So you think this goes all the way down to the supermodel world level?
It does.
This is that. So
call the evangelicals and the supermodels.
Call the evangelicals. This is the big reveal that the plot of Zoolander was actually true, and supermodels are who are going to save the world. I mean, it could be. Who knows? The world works in weird ways. Yeah. Should we move on? I don't know.
Some big news about Labor Secretary.
Oh, yes. So actually this morning.
Breaking.
Can you do that more like a robot?
Breaking.
Labor Secretary Alex Acosta is going to resign, has announced that he will resign. The president stood next to Alex Acosta outside the White House and spoke highly of him. Trump said regarding the plea deal that he made with Jeffrey Epstein, that, quote, he made a deal that people were happy with, and then 12 years later, they're not happy with it. You'll have to figure all of that out. But the fact is, he's been a fantastic Secretary of Labor. Trump also emphasized that this decision was Acosta's and not his. A White House official said Acosta was not popular within the White House to begin with over his perceived lack of enthusiasm for the president's deregulatory agenda. Even before Acosta, there was a significant number of vacancies. Here's a list which CNN obtained from the Partnership for Public Service last month. We need a Tom Squitieri on the line for this one.
I know.
The total current number of vacant key leadership positions with no current Senate-confirmed appointee in the Trump administration is 260 out of 713. That is a lot. The current number of vacancies in the State Department is 61 out of 202. Vacancies in the Defense Department is 12 out of 56, and in the Justice Department is 15 out of 29. Well, we've successfully drained the swamp, but now we're having an interesting lesson about what happens when no one is helping organize things or help things run smoothly.
So my small take on why Acosta is resigning,
Yes.
or, and Trump's being like, it's not me, but they're really trying to again, shift focus, let Acosta be the bad guy for doing this. And so nobody talks about...
Can you give us a one-sentence breakdown of why he's resigning?
Because he didn't prosecute Jeffrey Epstein to the fullest extent of the law and let him get away with being a...
pedophile,
a sexual predator.
Yes.
And so they're letting him take the blame. So nobody looks that potentially... and probably is 45's whole issues. So they're like, look, Trump is being hard on somebody who didn't take sexual
except for the part where Trump said out loud this morning, this isn't my decision and I didn't want Acosta to resign.
So you're believing him. It's working.
Right. No. What I'm saying is if the point is... Because to me, what that sounds like is like, Trump has all these advisors around him who are like, oh, hey, if you come out against Epstein getting this, this plea deal or whatever, that's going to make you look like, oh, well, you're hard on people who are sexual predators or whatever. It sounds to me like they had this whole plan, and then Trump was like, wasn't my plan. He just he thwarts every sort of,
and probably
every time they try to help him.
I'm just saying, we're not fooled. We're still watching him.
I'd like to not be watching him, if just for you know what I mean? Like, can I just turn this TV show off for a little while, please?
But not your radio.
Never turn your radio off.
Well,
should we talk about New Orleans?
Yeah.
That's you. I read the last one.
Oh. Parts of the New Orleans metro area are being evacuated as Louisiana braces for Tropical Storm Barry. The storm is expected to turn into a hurricane today and is expected to drench New Orleans in rains that could send water spilling over levees. This makes Barry the first big test of the flood defense since the catastrophic flooding of Hurricane Katrina in 2005. A spokesman for the Army Corps of Engineers said they don't expect widespread levee failure, but there are concerns in some parts of southeast of the city. That's why mandatory evacuations are in effect southeast of New Orleans. Rains on Wednesday gave the city an early test and taste. Floodwaters invaded downtown hotels and businesses and turned streets into rivers. The city's sewage and water board said the pumping system that drains the streets was at full capacity. Of big concern is the fact that Barry is a slow-moving storm. Once the rains start falling, they are expected to stick around. Residents are being urged to keep storm drains clear and stock up on 3 days' worth of emergency supplies.
I think the big takeaway is no matter where you live in the U.S. or in the world, really, just stock up on your emergency supplies. There is a website I promised I would find earlier. There's www.ready.gov. They have a basic what to put in your supply kit, whether it's an earthquake or a hurricane or whatever natural disaster is going to hit. It's the reality, right? We live in a moving, shaking, rain-dumping world. Be ready.
Be ready.
Hundreds of people are gathered to protest Amazon's ties to ICE and Homeland Security. This is an interesting one.
Yeah.
Amazon Web Services hosts DHS databases that allow the department and its agencies to track and apprehend immigrants. Chew on that for a minute. Currently, Amazon is in talks to expand that database to include things such as eye color and tattoos. Besides the hundreds gathered in New York City outside Amazon's summit meeting, around 30 protesters interrupted the keynote address inside by playing audio of detained, crying children. I would like to high-five every one of those people. Amazon's Prime Day is coming up on Sunday, when ICE will be conducting raids that same day. Dude. And then it also includes the supermodels. It's all interconnected.
Tensions are high in the Gulf after British Navy ships point guns at Iranian vessels. British ships in the Gulf are on highest state of alert because of fears that UK-flagged commercial vessels are vulnerable to attack by Iranian gunboats. The change to alert level 3 was made on Tuesday. Then on Wednesday, a Royal Navy warship pointed its guns at Iranian gunboats that tried to disrupt the passage of an aisle of man-flagged vessels. 15 to 30 large British-owned vessels travel through the Gulf every day. Britain has 1 warship and 3 minesweepers operating in the area. It lacks the capacity to escort all British-linked ships moving through the Strait of Hormuz. Iran has dismissed the allegation that their boats were messing with British ships.
Do you understand what is happening with American/British interactions with Iran in the last couple of months?
Things are ratcheting up, I'll tell you that much.
It makes me feel like I'm taking crazy pills.
You're not. This is the world we live in.
But okay, whatever.
Kara's having a moment.
It feels very contrived to me. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that the threats aren't real. I'm not saying the tensions aren't actually high. I'm just saying, it feels like when you're watching like a made-for-TV movie and there's like 2 kids on the junior high school playground or whatever, and then like somebody runs in and like whacks somebody else in the head, and then they run away, and then that guy turns around and he's like, "Hey, you hit me," and he's like, "You hit me," and then they start fighting, and you're like, "What just happened?" Like, that's what this feels like. It's very strange. No, nothing.
I don't have anything on it. I mean,
fair enough.
It's when. Yeah, it does. If you're saying it feels like it's kind of sticking your chest out and like who has the most guns and who's gonna do something first, and that's super scary because we're talking about like world powers, and it's not just 2 people on a playground.
But it's also like we were
messing with millions of people's lives if anything were to actually happen.
Which is kind of the theme of every story that we've read so far today. Is like it's like these. We are really seriously watching like the real life TV show of world powers and our federal government and they're acting out their like ridiculous dramas, and we're all just extras in their reality TV show.
I think it is interesting though, because the more that we have access to news and people being able to talk about how things are actually happening. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's new. Have we ever actually known about how different wars start from the very beginning like this before?
Point. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's wow, what a strange thing to think about. Like, I mean, yeah, you kind of get what the newspapers tell you, but otherwise, like one day you're just like, hey, why is everybody fighting? And you don't even know because the internet didn't exist.
Exactly.
It's a fair point. Shanghai is struggling to cope with strict new recycling laws. The new rules that went into effect on July 1st said that household waste must be separated into 4 different bins: dry, wet, recyclable, and hazardous. Chicken bones go into the wet bin, but pork bones are categorized as dry waste. This is a Portlandia sketch. Cell phone batteries go into the hazardous bin, but standard AA's go into the dry bin. One local commentator wrote, "Every day you wake up with one question: what kind of trash will you be?" Shanghai is...
That's my question, and I don't even live there.
That's my new, the age of self-help is over, and now when you look in the mirror every morning, you're just like, what kind of trash will I be today? Shanghai is home to 35 million people. It's the first city in China engaged in a push to increase the country's recycling rate. By 2020, China hopes to bring that rate up to 35% from the 20% today. The city has been getting ready since January, holding thousands of information sessions and plastering neighborhoods with educational posters. There's even an app to help. But reports of public frustration have been widespread. Some residents pledged to give up cooking or eating takeaway at home. Okay. One even tried to ship his garbage out of the city, according to local media. Oh my God, take a breath, dude. Political leadership in China has been on a quest to promote the country as an ecological civilization that addresses the environmental impacts of rapid growth. What a novel idea. But for now, The Guardian reports that locals have come up with a handy reminder for dealing with the complex trash regulations.
Am I supposed to sing this part?
Yes, Hannah, this is the song that I
This is it. Okay, here we go.
Okay.
Just kidding.
No, come on. If a pig can eat it, it goes in the wet bin. If a pig cannot eat it, it is dry waste.
We have listeners here.
If a pig is likely to die from eating it, then the waste is hazardous. And if you could sell it and buy a pig with the funds, it's recyclable waste. Yeah. Everything else we've ever done on the radio has been leading up to that moment.
I mean, but this is it's actually very intense because I went and I clicked to read more about it. And they have, imagine, so in our malls right now, we have 3 options. We have a compost, a recycle, and then garbage. And you can walk up there and you're like, okay, you're trying to sort things.
Yeah.
But you like that you're sorting things because it makes you feel better a little bit. Okay. But if you have so many more options and then you have a volunteer standing there telling you in your face about how you're supposed to do it.
Yeah.
It could be intense.
Yeah. We mostly do it wrong now.
Yeah, we do it wrong, and we don't even let apartments have the option of doing it.
I know.
Wrong.
It's so bonkers.
Or
businesses. How many businesses do you know that have a compost option?
Yeah.
There is a really good podcast, and I don't remember which one it is, but maybe 99% Invisible, that talks about somewhere where this sort of system is already implemented. And it's really crazy because it's the truck drives around twice a week or whatever, and plays a little ice cream song, and everybody runs outside with their trash. And it's very complicated. I think they even have more than 4 bins.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was thinking about the song again. But I think basically they said well, either you make trash day, and you have to be home to put your trash into the bin, and then there's somebody on the truck saying yes, you put that in the right place, no, you put that in the wrong place. And if you are not home to put your trash in the trash bin when it comes around, then you're just left with trash in your home.
Good.
But that's what I'm saying, right? Things have to get uncomfortable. It's just protests.
Exactly. Things have to look at all the trash that you make. What will it take to have you make less trash?
Well,
sit in your trash.
Sit in your trash, number 1. And number 2, have 2 random girls on the radio sing you a song about pigs. Then maybe you'll recycle, huh?
If you don't want us to sing anymore, and I would be happy if you said that to us, you can always text 971-220-5979. Tell us what you liked about that song, or if you
We didn't write it.
Again.
We didn't write it. We just sang it.
But just a reminder that you are listening to XRAY in the Morning. I'm Hannah Rose now.
I'm Kira Lindenberg.
Be part of the show. Text us 971-220-5979. We'll take a quick break.
Let's take a quick musical break.
We'll be back with some local news.
This is X-Ray. Radio is yours.
XRAY FM would like listeners to know about Outside In.